All right, so this is going to be a review lesson for lessons 7 through 10 that we did in class. Squares and square roots, cubes and cube roots, data analysis, so mean, median, mode, range, and then also some probability. So we're going to go through some notes for each of these, and then I'm going to give you some time for practice problems, and then we'll review those practice problems. Today's class is probably going to run long, so if you can't stay for more than an hour, don't worry, because this lesson is going to be posted again to YouTube. I'll share the link so that you can rewatch it. And even if you make it through this whole lesson, perhaps you're going to want to rewatch some portions of it if you found it a little bit challenging or hard to remember, right? It would be a good practice for you. No, I haven't. So let's start with squares and square roots, okay? So we'll start on that section of your handout. And so what do we mean when we talk about squares? Well, we're talking about so what are squares? We're talking about when we have a number to the second power, okay? A number to the second power. So this would be the same as if I were to say it, right? N to the second power. What's another way I could say that? Good. This is also n times n. That's what it means, right? And then a shortcut, when we say it, a lot of times we'll say n squared, right? N squared. So anything to the second power just means that number multiplied by itself, right? That's what a square is. So if we think about an example, we'll just call this example 1. What if we had the number 6 squared? That's the same as 6 times 6, okay? It is not the same as, the most common mistake people will do is 6 times 2. No, do not do this, right? That's not what it is. 6 times 6, so 6 squared, or 6 to the second power, is 36, right? Good. How do I type this in on my calculator, okay? Well, first we're going to just hit the 6 button, right? And then we're going to hit, if you don't remember, the button called the squaring key, right? And then we hit enter, and it'll tell us our answer is 36, right? Okay. Am I okay to clear this from the screen, guys? Is it okay for me to clear it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
Great. Where's that at? I forget. Oh, down here. Okay. Hope that makes sense. Now let's talk about what square roots are. Okay. So that was squares. This is square roots. Hopefully by now we know that the square root symbol looks like this, right? That's the square root symbol. And what does that mean? What does this mean? One day we had you explain it in words, if you could, remember that? And so it basically means what number multiplied by itself gives you the number inside the square root symbol. Okay. Sometimes words are helpful for some people, and other people are like, stop giving me definitions, just show me an example. But I want to do both because some people like the definitions, okay? And so if we go back to our previous number, I'll call this example 1 for square roots. If I take the square root of 36, that means if I go by my definition, what number multiplied by itself will give me the number inside the square root 36? And that answer would be 6, right, guys? 6 and 6. So that means the square root of 36 equals 6, because 6 times 6 is 36. Okay? That's what square root is in general. Now, what if we wanted to type it into a calculator? Okay, so what if I, for example 2, we'll use a calculator. If you had the square root of 225, here's how we're going to use the calculator. We're going to hit the second button, right? Then we're going to hit the squaring key. And then we're going to type in the number 225 and hit enter. And what do we get when we do that into our calculator? 15. So the square root of 225 equals 15. Now we'll pause for a second so that you guys could get that written down if you're taking notes on it. How's the pace, everybody? Too slow, too fast, just right? Just right?
It's good.
Okay.
Good.
Okay, can I clear the screen?
Homer's ready.
I heard Homer's ready. Okay.
Yeah, Kodiak's ready.
Okay, thanks, Kodiak. So we're still going to stick on squares and square roots. So if you're running out of room, maybe you need to grab an extra sheet of paper. That's okay. Because I want to just talk about application problems for squares and square roots that you might see, right? And so the different kinds of problems really are going to be mostly this. When you're given a square, right, like this, and they give you a side, maybe, like 3 inches, and they ask you, what is the area, right? This we'll call example, I don't know, 3. So what do? We have a shape. They say find the area. You need to look at your GED formula sheet, right? And say what's the area formula for a square? The area of a square is side squared. So let's plug in what we know. The area of our square is going to equal 3 squared, right? And hopefully we know that 3 times 3 is equal to 9. And then what is my label? Yeah, it's going to be square inches, 9 square inches, or if we want to abbreviate, 9 inches squared. Remember, the reason is because as we're squaring the number 3, we're doing 3 inches times 3 inches. 3 times 3 is 9. Inches times inches is inches squared. Okay, so there's an example where they give us a side and they want us to find the area. We have to use the formula, right? Okay, I'm going to clear this one.
Go ahead.
Thanks. I'm like really scared to clear it too early and somebody's going to yell at me.
Wait.
Wait! Okay. Example 4. They might tell us you're building a square garden. I'm not going to write out the whole thing. You're building a square garden and you want the area to be 144 square yards. And then the question would be, or a possible question could be, what is the perimeter of your garden? Okay, so here's the question. So this is a great question because we have to use the area formula, we have to use square root, and we have to know what perimeter is. If you don't remember what perimeter is, it's the distance around the outside of a shape. Okay, the distance around the outside. And so let's think about this problem. Jeff is always going to tell you to do what?
Draw a picture.
He's going to say, Ryan, you're an artist. Draw a picture. Griffin, you're an artist. Draw a picture. Wow, that's beautiful. Okay, so we know that the area of our shape is equal to 144. We want to know what's the distance around the outside, right? So we need to know at least what one side is, right? And then we could add them all up. So we're going to use the area formula again. If they give you area, you're going to use the formula. Area of a square equals side to the second power. We don't know the side this time, right? But we do know the area. So we plug it in, 144. The area is 144, right? Equal to side to the second power. Okay. Big thing here is to remember that this is algebra, right? Now we want to solve for a variable. We want to get it all by itself. So we want to get from s squared to s because we want to know what s equals, right? How do we get rid of a square? We have to do the opposite, right? If this were multiplication, we would do the opposite, division. So the question is, what's the opposite of squaring? Yes, square root, right? So how do I get from s squared to just s? Square root. And algebra tells me if I do it to one side, I have to keep it balanced and do it to the other. So the square root of 144, if you type that into your calculator, you're going to see that it's 12. I'm done, right? I am not done, right? Don't let them trick you. I guarantee one of the answer choices is going to be 12. And then the next one is going to be 48. And that's the right one. This one is the trick, okay? They asked us for the perimeter. So one side is equal to 12. We want to know the distance around, so we have to do 4 sides, right? 1, 2, 3, 4 sides. 4. This is the perimeter formula, right? 4 sides. 4 times 12 equals 48. So the perimeter is 48 yards. Distance would not be in square units. When we take the square root, it goes back to just yards. I don't want to get into it, but if you understand that, you're ahead of the curve. So our answer would be the perimeter of the garden is 48 yards. Okay? It's a big garden. Share your crops, okay? Anybody have questions or need me to go over anything there?
Jeff,
Yeah.
could you do a calculator for each of the lessons? Like, can you do an example for on the calculator?
Did I do one?
Yeah, can you?
Oh, so for like this problem, for example?
Yeah. For like
How
square
do we
root.
do square root of 144 on the calculator?
Yeah.
Great. So what I'm going to do, can I clear it?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. So how do I find the square root of 144, or any number for my calculator. I have to first hit the second key because that gets me access to all the little green icons that are small and above the buttons. And if you look above that squaring key, you'll see a little square root symbol in green, right? So if you hit second squaring, you get the square root symbol. And then you hit 1, 4, 4, and then enter.
Got an extra step in mind, I can't have it. Two, and then second, and then the square one above that.
Thank you, Jeff.
You're welcome. Any other questions? Okay, let's move on to cubes and cube roots, everybody.